This is the 10th of September 2017. We're at Dr. Benny Franklin's
that was
tent.
authorized by Congress this year is what we are using to pay our troops. We promised to pay our troops 6 2/3 Spanish milk dollars a month. Well, we do not have enough coin. So we are issuing notes. This is a $5 note, saying it is redeemable in an equivalent amount of 5 Spanish milk dollars per gold or silver at a later date. That is starting in 1779. But the Congress does not have the right to tax to raise funds to put on these tax. How will they allow this bill to be made good? That is why I'm going to France. We are in need of 3 things: trained men, material, and money. We need money in order to make good on these notes, right? Because the gentleman, if you were going off.
Gentleman, Taylor, he's talking to you.
Yes. Well, sir, if you were paid with this $5 note, and you knew that this note was not good, how would you feel when you came time to redeem it? So, would you leave the army if you knew that? Do you think you might even commit mutiny because you were unhappy with what happened? But you might. This is why I have to go to France to get coin, to get silver from them to make good on our promises. If you wish, sir, you may have this. You're quite welcome. But we're also in need of material. We have no method of making our own cannon. We have no foundries to make our own cannon or cannonballs. We have no source available to us for making muskets to the quantity that are necessary and in the quality. And in particular, we have no ships of the type that are necessary. We have small ships, we have privateers, but we do not have the proper ships that would be necessary carrying 40, 50, 60 guns that could allow us to compete with the British, to remove them from blockading our ports. So we are in hopes that the French will provide us with that support. They have been providing in secret, but we wish to make it a matter of open knowledge, so then that way we can go to them and get the support that we are in need in order to be successful. If we do not get the French support, I am greatly afraid that our rebellion will fail. So do you have any other questions that you would like to ask of me? Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about the grains and the relationship between grains and powder?
Oh, well, certainly. The English pound is based on grains of wheat. There are 7,200 grains of wheat in an English pound. So there are 24 grains of wheat in what is known as a pennyweight, or pence. There are 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound. So at the time, in the 1600s, when the weight of the English pound was established, that was also the value in silver of the English pound and how much the English pound weighed. The 1 English pound in silver weighed 1 English pound in weight. And the grains have to do also with measure of volume. So for instance, if any of you should do any type of hunting and they have the cartridges where they talk about the grains, that is the grains of powder that are used for the proper measurement of powder to assure that your weapon fires. So for instance, if you go here and you ask someone, how many grains of powder do you put down your barrel? They will know that you are talking about the black powder, and you will pour it. And there are different measurements that are used for different guns, and also different thicknesses, different sizes of the powder. So 70 grains of powder that would be used for a cannon is far more coarse than 70 grains of powder that would be used if you were priming a gun. If you were to put that same amount of powder For cannon, it would hardly ignite. For musket, you could blow the barrel. So you may ask them that question and see that then they will think that you actually know something about this.
So I have a question.
Yes, madam.
What is that gizmo back there on the table with the round thing?
That is my clock candle.
Your what?
My clock candle.
Okay.
I know that for every inch is 30 minutes. So if I am in a meeting and there is a certain amount of time that is necessary that we have to cover the items in the meeting, I will pull the candle up 1 inch, light it, and say, we now have 30 minutes. When the candle burns down, the time is up. So we need to make a decision. I think sometimes Congress should look at implementing this idea. It perhaps would allow us to complete our meetings in a far quicker fashion, as you could appreciate.
Did you invent that?
No, madam. In fact, if you happen to go to General Washington's home in Mount Vernon,
I've been there.
and you look in his study on his desk, there is a smaller version of that on his desk. It can also be used, for instance, for lighting your wax, if you have to melt the wax for sealing letters.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a nice little candle that is sitting there that you can use for almost any purpose. In my case, mine unfortunately is far larger, but I have many more meetings in General Washington. Are there any other questions that you may have for me? Yes, sir.
Do you have your best words for posterity here in the next?
Well, the phrase that I have been using today has been visitors and fish stink after 3 days, which would be one. Or, and we have all run across this, a learned blockhead is a bigger blockhead than an ignorant one. And that is because a learned blockhead thinks he knows better.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So the 2/3 dollar bill, when we set what we're paying our soldiers in 1775, privates received 6 2/3 Spanish milled dollars a month, and fifers and corporals 7 1/3. So Congress, because we have such little coinage available to us, had to again do paper currency. So this 2/3 dollar bill is what a soldier would receive: a $5 note, a $1 bill, and a 2/3 dollar bill on a monthly basis. The design on the reverse is a design that I created. It has all 13 colonies and listed interlocking rings, showing that we must all work together, that we are one. The feeble-minded, so they are not dangerous to others in the community. Would that be your case, sir?
It could be. It could be.
Well, I would.
As you were saying before, I may be learned. I may be a danger to myself.
Is
yes.
A bigger blockhead than an ignorant one?
Yes, indeed.
Well, that does apply to certain people who feel they are rather full of themselves.
Okay.
And some people who are educated do feel that way, particularly many people who have received their degree, their Doctor of Divinity, is they do feel that they are quite full of themselves.
Okay. And one last thing, could you tell us about the paper that you have on your, presumably, is that your traveling desk, or?
This is my writing desk, yes.
Okay.
Well, on top is a copy of some of the Proverbs and aphorisms from my Almanacs, Almanacs,
good.
which I have. I started publishing in 1734 and published for some 25 years.
Very good.
So that is where some of the phrases came from that I had mentioned to you.
Well,
visitors and fish stink after 3 days.
Okay.
One that applied to my recent events in London: 3 people may keep a secret if 2 are dead.
Okay.
And please put that down, young lady. Thank you.
Okay.
But
Well,
many
thank
of
you.
those phrases, some of them were from Aesop.
Okay.
And it is merely a matter that I rephrase them in modern 18th century language.
Well, thank you again, Doctor. Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Have a great day. I'll get out of here before my 3 days are up.